out of the three, this has been kind of my favorite episode so far.
Oh, girl, that grabbed you. All right, welcome to the podcast. This is going to be a great episode. I am joined with the Kristy Leigh Lussier from WeFixYourScript.com. She's one of our staff writers. Thanks for being with us.
Oh, always excited to be here.
She's also my spirit animal as well. So we're going to go with that.
I am. I love that.
I like to think to myself when I'm in bad situations, I say, what would Kristy do? So,
I would go, what the hell's happening right now?
Yep, that's
what I would do.
Well, then I channel you regularly. So we're doing episode 3 titled Adar from The Rings of Power, Lord of the Rings on Amazon Prime. I'm going to hit you with this log line. You ready?
Yes, for the episode?
Yeah.
Okay.
Arondir finds himself a captive. Galadriel and Halbrand explore a legendary kingdom. Elendil is given a new assignment. Nori faces the consequences. So pretty cut and dry little breakdown of the episode.
Yeah.
First thoughts.
First thoughts is I actually, out of the three, this has been kind of my favorite episode so far.
Oh, girl, that grabbed you.
It did. And here's what I loved about it. I loved that we had they clearly obviously decided to kind of stay with a couple of storylines for a longer period of time.
Right.
So it gave us more opportunity to really just dive in, get kind of attached to the characters, understand more kind of the journey of each one of them. And I really liked that. I really liked the first 30 minutes basically was just the two story arcs going back and forth.
Yeah, Galadriel and Arondir kind of popping back and forth there. So the big reveal was the ship that they're saved by was captained by Elendil. And I'm like, man, that sounds familiar, but I couldn't place it. And then when we realized it's his son is a Isildur, I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. Yeah. I was like, what a great surprise. So they are digging deep, man, and pulling characters out. Because even I recognize them from the films, which is in the first Fellowship of the Ring. I mean, Elendil is the guy who fights Sauron and dies, and Isildur takes his father's broken sword and cuts the ring from Sauron's hand. Right. And Isildur is the guy who refused to throw the ring into the pit of Mount Doom at
Mordor.
Elrond's Mordor at Elrond's beck and call, and he said, no, this is my ring. I'm gonna keep this ring. It's nice, fits well. Yeah. So
nice and shiny.
Yes, it's so shiny. So I thought, wow, that's great. We get to kind of see how these characters develop, because these are actually heroic characters. Really, Isildur is a heroic character until he kind of succumbs to the ring at the very end. So I think that'll be a really interesting journey.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of nice to see the origins of them even talking about like Numenor and how the relationship with the elves and the Numenorians on the island, and where that actually relationship or that birth happens essentially.
I mean, in 6 Lord of the Rings movies, we never saw this island, and they're coming towards the island. I'm like, wow, that really looks like Gondor, but there's all this water, and I was really lost by it until I did a little deep dive here and found out that Gondor was from Numenor. Like eventually they get kicked out of Numenor and they go and they create Gondor. So it would make sense that all the architecture is so similar, right, all the way down to the white stone. So I was like, oh, that's really cool. Really kind of, again, it's that connective tissue to the films, which keeps just enough familiarity for me to feel comfortable.
Yes, exactly.
But different enough for me to go, oh, this is cool. And like this show is excelling at that. And I love what it's doing.
Yeah, that's a good point. That is something that I do see that I think is a successful aspect to it, is there's just enough, like you said, to really tie back to, even if audience members are not familiar with the books, there's just enough to tie back to the there's enough to tie back to the movies, which is a big draw. Like the audience, really probably the majority of the audience coming for the show are actually just movie fans versus the book fans.
No, I mean, it's very possible. So let's get into Galadriel and Halbrand's arc. So Halbrand, he's going to try and set roots down. He wants to get into the blacksmith's guild. They're like, no, you got to have one of our fancy sigils. So he goes, finds a guy, gets him drunk, and then lifts the sigil. Yeah. But what I appreciated about that scene is so many times in shows like this, it's a surprise that he stole it. Like when he steals Galadriel's dagger back, right? It's a big surprise. He does the bump, but we don't see him lift it. They actually show him lift it on the camera, which I liked, because you watch him lift it, and like, he didn't really do a great job lifting that. Like he took it. So when he's going down the alleyway and the guy shows up with his boys to get the sigil back, no one's surprised, right? I mean, we all saw this coming.
Yeah.
Here's what I liked. Like, they get into this scuffle, right?
Yeah.
And this dude lays down like a Street Fighter style dragon uppercut.
I know. That's what I thought too.
And lays my boy Halbrand out flat. I was like, wow. Yeah. I didn't expect that. But then homeboy just jumps up and just berserker rages, like he John Wicked everybody. I don't know what,
for sure. Even like smashing faces into the wall.
Yeah, we're breaking elbows. We're going crazy. Yeah. I was like, all right.
Okay.
There was no hint this guy could do that anywhere in the show.
No.
But here we are. So there's a big reveal on that. So I think they're trying to establish, yes, he's a warrior, but he also has this darker berserker rage side, which maybe the ring
he's clearly
starts
trying to stifle.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So what I wanted to get from you is, do you believe the revelation that Halbrand is the heir to is the king of the Southlands, who essentially would be Aragorn's great grandfather, right? So do you believe that, or do you think he just stole that sigil?
I think that's what they're trying to set up for the audience, that he could be, because again, here's another he's our Aragorn of this season, right?
Right.
Like this series.
He's roguish. He's a warrior.
Yeah. And, the connection with him and an elf female, like that kind of thing.
But he's got a dark tendencies, right?
He does. Yeah, for sure.
And he wants to blacksmith. So you start going, well, is this dude going to try and make a ring? So you start playing around with that, right? Yeah.
Because as soon as they did that little hint of him looking over into the kind of blacksmith area, I was like, oh, that's nice foreshadowing. Like, it was a great little shot.
It was a good visual subtext. And he's over there and he's like, listen, I'll forge things you've never even seen before. And
I'm just trying to lay down roots. I'm like, no, you ain't.
Yeah. This guy's going to make some things happen. So yeah, I mean, he could be like the ancestor of Aragorn, or he could be set up as Sauron still, like you had mentioned before. And since you had said that, it's kind of just sitting in my head. I'm like watching this dude throughout the show,
I'm wondering if it's a sleight of hand, though. I really am. And I would like to see where they do go with that. I mean, is it going to be, are they just putting the obvious right in front of us, or really are we going to have a surprise down the road? I want to know, go on this journey together, right?
But we're on the journey, and that's what I like about it. And the other cool thing is the show is starting to provide a little bit lighter moments, not just with Nori and Poppy, right? Because they had been a little bit of the comic relief. They're doing a little bit more, even just in tone. So, like, have you seen Galadriel smile on the show yet? No.
Yeah. Now she does here.
Now she does. She gets on the horseback and she's smiling. And I was like, wow, that's like, I've never seen this character smile before. So we're starting to get a little bit of a lighter moment. She's starting to kind of connect with Elendil. And
I thought that was interesting, though, because I think that when she says, did you say ride? First off, I would have changed that line of dialogue, but that's just me. I'm more like to the point on my dialogue, but just don't say that. If they had alluded to before her love for riding and
we'd
horses,
never seen it.
And we'd never seen it. So I probably would have appreciated that more if they had shown, even when she was younger,
right?
There's some element or connection to her doing that.
I think you're absolutely right. And I think establishing that earlier would have been great. It would have made that moment even more powerful.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. It was nice to see somebody who is right now painted as so somber have a moment of relief.
Have a moment. Right.
So I did enjoy that. And then learning about the archives and how she was looking at the sigil rung and how it's a map of what Mount Doom, right? Of the Southlands.
Essentially. Yeah.
Okay. All right, good. So all of that aside, I was digging it. Now we get to my man Arondir. Like you had me interested, so I started looking up some of the stuff online about why are people hating on this show. And I mean, if it is literally about that type of casting, you need to look at you need to look at yourself, because this guy, this actor who plays Arondir is phenomenal. No, if you watch last night, if you watch that episode and you're seeing how he's sacrificing himself to free his watch commander so that he can get out there, and there's just this sweet fight scene here. I'm like hashtag team Arondir. Like, this guy's amazing. Yeah. I don't know how you don't love this character.
I don't think that's what it is. I think that literally has blown up to be the narrative about how it's a racist element, and that there's a lot of negativity surrounding some of those casting choices. I honestly feel there may be a small percentage of that, but that's really not what's kind of driving a lot of the negative reflection.
Well, give it to me. What do you think it is?
I think that we have known for quite some time. It's been very, very set in stone in the canon that elves are of light skin, and they are they're obviously, all of them have long hair. They're of lighter skin and tone. They are tall in nature and stature. And when they made a decision for Rings of Power to kind of make the elves basically just look like other humans, except for their pointy ears, they all have short hair. They're all tall, short, whatever, different color skin. I think for a lot of the Tolkien kind of, lovers, essentially that's kind of taking away from the canon in their mind of what that race and that society of people looks like, right? So it's not racism. That's not Tolkien. That's not how they're.
Not how he wrote it.
Yeah,
well, I got to tell you, after looking at all that stuff online, I understand that the books were written in a specific way, but there is nothing wrong with evolution. Of thought and mind. So I think bringing the show into this, and so bringing in this type of inclusion, I think is important, especially for young kids out there of a new generation watching this show who can see a character who is awesome and can see their reflections of themselves in that show. I think that's a huge difference. And I think if you can create that moment for that next generation, even if it's not true to the classic tales, I think that change needs to happen.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't disagree. I think really ultimately what it is for me is that, again, fantasy is fantasy. And while I completely understand the aspect of showing reflection of our modern world and on our modern times on screen,
right,
we are talking about fantasy writing. Middle Earth is not Earth. Middle Earth is not planet Earth. It is a completely different realm. It's a completely different universe. And so I'm in a dividing line there where I'm kind of, I straddle both fences, where I completely understand on the one hand. On the other hand, if they wanted to do something like that, write a completely original fantasy series and go that route and do something along those lines, because there are going to be those diehards and those people that are really connected to Tolkien's work that has been around for 60, 70 years. And they want to see that on screen. They don't necessarily want to see a kind of modernized, different reflection.
Well, then I would say this show isn't for them.
Well, exactly. Yeah. So at that point, you just go, okay, well, you know what? This isn't really Tolkien. It's not really what I wanted to see. I'm just not going to watch it. Like,
I mean, if you can't, allow your point of view to broaden in that sense, then this isn't
it's
your
just
show.
not for you. Yeah.
I think the showrunners made the right decision. So Nori and Poppy, they get at one point I didn't think they were going to show up in the show.
I didn't think so either. I thought,
yeah.
oh, maybe they're just going to do like one episode with two storylines.
Exactly.
Kind of go back and forth there. Yeah.
And they came up on the show. I love their dialogue. I don't know what it is about their dialogue between Nori and Poppy, but to me, their dialogue is like when you see the puppy with the big eyes and you just love the puppy and you just want to squeeze the puppy because it's so cute. Like that's how their dialogue is to me. And it's solid dialogue. Like
puppy.
You know what I mean? Like that's just the feeling I get when I watch those two actors reading their lines and working off of each other. It's just, I just love it. Like you can always watch a show and see where the dialogue isn't great and the actor's trying to sell the line. Okay.
Sure.
Then you can see a show where the dialogue is great and the actors are feeling the lines. And that's what you're getting from these two. When Nori is and they're talking about the fact that he fell, they're talking about the stranger, like he fell from the earth and sometimes he kills fireflies a little bit. Yeah. I thought that was freaking adorable.
Yeah. Who hasn't killed a firefly or two?
It's so cute. Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, bringing in that lighter element where Nori is trying to steal the map.
Yes.
And then Poppy pops in and they're doing that.
Just doing like this coded messaging.
Oh my God. It was so
that was great.
cute.
That was a great little scene. I actually did like that.
It was awesome. Yeah. It brought in a lighter element because we had already had a character death. So you want to bring in those elements where you can kind of soften it a little bit. So you can have those peaks and valleys of emotional journey within the episode. Because if we didn't have a little moment like that, with the Hobbit, Harfoots, Harfoots.
It's hard to distinguish.
Whatever. I don't get it, but it's the same thing. So it is important to keep that emotional journey going of the audience.
Yes.
And even the stranger got a little funny moment there where he looked like a monster because he was covered in like this greeny mesh caravan tarp.
This little like netting or whatever he's got all over.
Yeah, I really did enjoy it. And then at the end where they're falling behind and the stranger pops up and helps pushing the cart, I thought that was great because I kind of expected the show was going to be like they just stay behind and then it's adventure time with Nori, the stranger, and the family trying to figure out where else to go. But no, it looks like they're sticking with the caravan, which I think is great.
No, yeah, they absolutely should. Again, I think there's a couple kind of aspects that I really took away from exploring that storyline, which was it was really interesting to see them talk about like they're having their ceremony of like those who have been left behind.
Oh yeah, brutal.
And it really does actually bring up the element of like there are stakes and there's kind of a fear here where this race of people or this group of people, this society of people, like they really do need each other. And, if something happens and they get left behind, they will die. Yeah. They will not survive as a people, really.
Yeah. They're bottom of the food chain, man.
Yeah, essentially. So I thought it was really neat to introduce that aspect because then you have more kind of invested and there's more of an element of you really want to be able to see them make it. You don't want them to be left behind. And there should always be the whole, nobody's left behind. Everybody, when you're in a caravan like that, and that's how you survive as a people, you can't leave anybody behind. It kind of introduces these, a really interesting conflict, right?
It does.
But having the big stranger then show up at the end, which is, I was like, that's why he's there. Like he's there. He can pull the wagon now. Like he's the guy. Like
he's the dude.
It's like, she's like, he showed up for a reason. Yeah. Cause he's going to pull the wagon because you can't now. Like, it's just, it was great. Well, it really made sense.
The easy go would be he magically heals the dude's, ankle. And then that dude goes off with the rest of the caravan and Nori and Poppy stay behind with the stranger. So what the nice thing about them sticking with the caravan as a group is it forces the story to veer away from stuff we've already seen with Lord of the Rings, right?
Yeah.
We've already seen the hobbits go on the journeys, right? We've already seen the hobbits leave the town and community. Twice already in two different trilogies.
Yes.
So it's nice to keep the hobbits within the community and force the narrative from a different perspective.
For sure.
Keeps it fresh, which I think, which is a really great decision for the show.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you and I come together and we kind of analyze this instead of just doing a review, because after looking at all of these reviews online, I gotta tell you right now, I'm of the opinion that reviews are great for vacuum cleaners, but not for TV shows or films. And I'm just going to put that out there. And I really don't care what kind of hate I get, because I've seen such a myriad of opinions on these things. And it is as us being professionals who do this stuff, we can take a different kind of approach to it and just appreciate the show for what it is, and the art of it. I mean, because I'm looking at, like, you're not seeing reviews on the Mona Lisa, right? You know, like, well, I'm gonna give the Mona Lisa 1 star in Yelp, because to me it just looks like a chick.
And I'm gonna spend 30 minutes breaking it down on YouTube.
You know what I mean? So, like, I think coming together and really analyzing this show, it brings a little bit of a different perspective than all the noise out there.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a big review watcher, and it's just because there's just people that I prefer to watch, and there's people that I watch strictly for the review entertainment. There's some that I watch that I really do appreciate and respect their opinion, and there's some that I don't necessarily agree with, but I watch it anyway.
Yeah,
because it just kind of gives me a different perspective. This has been, the Rings of Power has been one that's really been tough for me, because there's a lot of people that I do respect as reviewers that I'm like, you're kind of going a little overboard here.
It's shocking to me how divisive. It's just a show. It's just a show. Any last thoughts?
I was like, I did like this episode. This was one of the ones that I mean, even Lee was just like, oh yeah, okay, now we're getting into some stuff. Yeah, it's just like, it's just great. He's not a fantasy guy, but if you can take him on a journey, and he understands the story and he sees it's going somewhere, okay, yeah, I mean, you're in it. And I'm just curious to see what it was the first episode where at the end I was like, oh, now we're ending on something. Now I want to see what happens next. Like,
right?
I think they did a pretty good job.
I did a little digging on what Adar means, and so in Elvish, Adar means father.
Father, yeah.
So nice. Okay, so is it Sauron? Right? Because everyone on the show is Sauron, evidently.
For sure.
So yeah, I'm sure it's probably just some human.
Galadriel's gonna end up being Sauron.
Yeah, Amazon's be like, what a twist! That's like M. Night Shyamalan level of a twist.
It's Galadriel. It
was there the whole time.
How did we not catch it?
It's hilarious.